Today, let's talk about the term God of the Gaps. This is a term that most atheists like to use to describe contemporary religion. Well, theistic religion anyway. First, I'll describe how it works, and then I'll give an introduction to my take on this topic. Now, to understand the idea of the God of the Gaps, you need to start with a human. Whether by the grace of God or through natural selection, mankind has been given an imagination. Right now, I'll ask you to use that imagination to imagine a rather primitive person. He's a hunter, he's armed with a wooden spear, and he's part of a tribe. At night, this tribe sits around the campfire, and our little guy here likes to tell stories. He's the best storyteller in their whole tribe. He's got the most imagination. And there is a profound lack of entertainment available, since no one will invent television, computers, or even books for at least another few thousand years. With me so far? Good. Now, this guy has a son. We'll call him Bubba. Now, Bubba is very curious, as all kids are, and he has all these questions about the world around him. If you have kids, you know the kind of questions they come up with. Daddy, where does thunder come from? And stuff like that. But Daddy has no idea what electricity is, or clouds, or any of that stuff. So he gets out of this by telling Bubba a story. That's what he's good at, after all. He tells him the story of a great man that sits up in the sky and throws rain and lightning towards the earth to punish people or animals that do stuff he doesn't like. Sometimes he can also use rain on the people that please him, because the rain brings water and water brings life. Now this makes sense to both Bubba and his dad. In time, this kind of story gives rise to a pantheon of gods, like the Norse or Greek mythologies. In Norse mythology, Thor is god of thunder. That's actually where the word comes from. In Greek mythology, Zeus takes the same role. Pretty soon we have gods for everything. A god of the hunt, a god for animals, often in fact a god for each kind of prey, and a god of thunder. A fertility god, particularly as people figure out agriculture, all that jazz. Now, in ancient times, polytheists didn't have a problem trading gods. It didn't matter if you believed in one or more or less god. They all worked together anyway. They may have different names, but every tribe came up with a similar set of gods. So obviously, these were just different names for the same gods. Look at Greek and Roman gods if you don't believe me. You'll notice that all these gods serve a similar purpose, explaining away the things that humans didn't understand. This way, you didn't have to worry about them. The gods dealt with all that, so you could get on with your life. Slowly, some people started to specifically follow a single god. They still believed in all the others. They themselves just worshipped a single god. This made sense, because tribes were getting bigger and people more specialized. So each worshipped the relevant god. The farmer worshipped the fertility god or goddess, the hunter worshipped the god of the hunt, usually a goddess actually, and the warrior worshipped the god of war. Then came the change. Some people started saying that their god was the only god. All the other gods are either fake or just alternate expressions of this one god. And hey presto, we have monotheism. Now, before Christians get all riled up, there's actually a book in the Bible that describes more or less this exact process. This book has been left out of the Protestant Bible, but we can still find it in the Catholic versions. It's called the Book of Judith, and describes, among many other things, how Abraham and his tribe left the gods of their fathers for faith in one God. But the whole point is, this God is still used to explain everything people don't understand. Why is there thunder? Because God makes the thunder. Why are there humans? Because God made the humans, as male and female. Eventually, these stories get written down, and we end up with scripture. So what's my take on all this? Well, actually, we can see this exact same thing happening today. We're not entirely sure how life got started, though we're pretty damn sure how it evolved once it was there. So it must be God that started it. Some Christians argue that the universe had a definite beginning, Even scientists agree on this. And since we don't know what caused it, they claim God did it. Sound familiar? The problem is, the gap for God to fill out is constantly getting smaller and smaller, and at the same time, the gaps are getting more and more complex to understand. So even when we do fill them out, many people still choose to take the simpler road of believing in God. The perfect example of this is evolution. And the reason that religious people are getting more and more excitable about this is that the gap is by now almost too small to have room for God at all. At least the Judeo-Christian God, with his all-powerful, all-present image, doesn't fit into the gap at all. And since these people learned their religion before anything else, they try to fit everything into that framework. And when something doesn't fit, we do a Cinderella routine, and we cut off some facts, or we cut off a little bit of religion. For a long time, religion got cut. Until now there isn't that much left. So now religious people have only two viable options. Cut out some facts, for instance the genetic evidence for evolution, or give up on their faith entirely. And this is, I believe, the sum total reason for the current verbal war between evolutionists and creationists. Think about it.